We're here today in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, in Somerset, which is the county seat. And the building behind us here is one of the oldest buildings in the county. This and some of the other buildings near it. In fact, it may be the oldest according to the agent. So we were hired to come in and assess the property, do a walkthrough inspection, and they're just trying to get some idea before they write up a scope of work on what they can do. They're going to get some grant money to repair the brick exterior, which are true masonry walls here, something you wouldn't really see today, and the roof's in pretty bad shape, and then down the road more. So we're pretty honored to be a part of this project. It's neat. We love coming out and seeing historic landmarks and anything that's going to involve some restoration work. And as we go around here, we're going to take a few other videos to go over some of the way that's done, because it is kind of a lost art, and it really takes an experienced restoration specialist, like a mason in this case, who specializes in lime-based mortars and restoration projects, to do a good job and bring a property like this back to life. So you can see up behind me here, we have these arched headers above our windows. Now, on a lot of masonry cladding, you'd see what are called lintels. They're steel supports that are on top of your windows, and they support the load of the brick that's above. But in this case, these are true masonry walls, and they use these arches. So again, something that you wouldn't normally see nowadays, but arches are actually one of your strongest possible types of support shapes. So if you go into a lot of old courthouses and down into the basement, a lot of times you'll see that. You'll see archways, because there's so much compression force in place there with that shape, everything kind of meshing together, that it creates a really, really strong foundation and support system. So you will see some cracking over times at these, just like you will in anything else in an old building that's experienced wear and tear over time. But it's another one of those things that you wouldn't see nowadays, and it's pretty neat to know about. Okay, so what we have here is they've done some repointing work, or another name for that is tuck pointing. So they probably hired a local mason years ago to come in and repoint these mortar joints that were deteriorated. And I want to show you real quick the difference here. So if we come in close, you can see this is a modern gray colored mortar. This is a Portland cement based mortar, which is much harder than the older lime based mortar that was used in these buildings. This here, right next to that, is lime. So a little more of a yellowish or brownish type of color. This is quite a bit softer, and that's important because the softer mortar allows for a little more movement of the brick, and it will prevent damage to the brick if there's movement. It also allows for any moisture that gets in the wall to pretty easily evaporate out. And we've gone over this part in a previous video, but the way to properly prepare this is, again, to get a restoration specialist who really knows how to do this kind of repointing work for an older building to preserve its historic look, and really the same function that it originally had. That's why some of these buildings constructed this way have stood the test of time for hundreds of years. So the right way to do this, and there are several methods, but you can use an air chisel, which is pretty powerful, to grind out this top layer of the older mortar. Then you can use what's called a plug chisel, and you want to get the back side of that mortar joint about an inch deep and flat, so squared off, and then that'll allow it to accept the new mortar, which you want to be lime based, to adhere in here. You can also use like a diamond bladed saw blade on a masonry chisel, and when you go through and do that, the key thing is to not touch the edges of the brick. You want to try and not damage the brick at all. You want to have exposed brick edges and a flat mortar face at the end, so that you can easily apply the new lime-based mortar in without damaging the brick, and then you'll have a wall that's set up to stand the test of time for many more years to come. So we're inside of the building now, and you can see we do have true masonry walls. That's why you can see the brick up in here, and there's been quite a bit of damage. There's been a lot of brick flaking off down here on the floor beneath, and it's normal that you're going to have some deterioration over time, but what we like to see is actually the mortar being deteriorated and not the brick. So when the brick face is deteriorated, that's called spalling. And what they've done up here is they've tried to parge coat that. So that mortar you see up there gets trowed on, and again, they used an improper mortar to do that. It was kind of an easier fix. They're just hoping to get it all in one shot, but the brick's pretty heavily deteriorated, and that definitely needs some more work. Okay, so this is a drone flyover we did of the roof, and you can see all of the buckled, lifted tabs. It's an asphalt 3-tab shingle roof. This central roof here has a reflective coating, but most of that has worn off, probably installed a very long time ago. And you can see the roof-mounted condensing units there for air conditioning. Those run up to air handlers in the attic spaces. So this is the rear side of the roof. You can see there on the rearmost roof, there are quite a few missing shingles and tabs. 2 chimneys, one on each side, so each building, and some pretty good cracking there in the crown, the concrete top. We do have step and counter flashing at the penetration of the chimney, but some deteriorated tar there. And this side of the roof, which is actually the south side, has a lot of damaged and missing shingles and tabs. And you can also see along the side walls here where they had tried to do some previous repair work around the windows, and again used improper Portland-based cement mortar for that. But yeah, a lot of missing shingles, and that's going to inevitably leak in multiple areas if that's not addressed. So this chimney, quite a bit older, a lot of efflorescence, and some missing bricks. The chimney's not lined or capped, so that's going to lead to water, debris, and vermin intrusion that could cause obstruction and other damage over time.